Hello, I'm Richard with EV4U Custom Conversions. And in this video we're again going to be talking about the 1972 VW bus, and we're going to kind of give you a little update and continue on with what we can do with what we have. So, big picture. If you've watched the previous videos, you know the current status. We've done some wiring, put in the charger. We got our control wiring mostly in, most of the gauges in, so forth. But what we've been missing have been the machine shop items, the adapter, coupler, and the lightened aluminum flywheel. So we're waiting on those three items still. But what we've received now is the motor setup. So that's the AC50 from High Performance Electric Vehicle Systems, the Curtis 1238 controller, the wiring harness, so forth. And part of that is the Curtis 840 display. So that will finish off our instrumentation. So we're going to add the 840 display to our dash setup, and we've already prepared for that. Cut the hole in the bezel of the instrument cluster where there was just a blank there, and so instead of there's the fuel gauge and something else, the speedometer, and then there was a blank, and now the 840 display will be in that blank. So these are things that we can do while we're waiting on the parts from the machine shop. We can't install the motor because no adapter. And before you install it, we're going to need not only the adapter, the coupler, and the flywheel. We've got the clutch components, we're good on that, and we're just waiting on those items I mentioned. So we'll take a look at the instrumentation today, and we're going to take a look of what we get in the box from HPVS. Not going to pull out the motor just yet because we're still waiting on the adapter. So anyway, let's take a look at what else comes with the motor, and we'll talk about putting it in the vehicle. So what we received from HPVS is a pallet with two boxes on it. This is the pallet with the motor. This is the box with the motor. And then we get another box with all the other items in it. So this is the other box that you'll receive. And there's going to be a bunch of peanuts in here, so we'll cut away while I take care of the peanuts. Let's open it here. Oh, hey, no peanuts. Make a liar out of me. This is the first time non-peanuts. We got the little airbags instead. Great, great. I hate the peanuts. They get in all of the little crevices of the box here that holds the inverter. So you see it's got these holes on the end and stuff, and peanuts get in everywhere, and so crazy. So we get the inverter, and you get a bag with some other goodies. Move this out of the way. And so what fell out here is the main contactor. And this is different than what they normally send. This is a different one. Wow. It's the first time they've sent one of these. So anyway, don't like it as much as the regular ones that we get. The normal ones are black, and I like the black, and they're shorter. Let's grab one and I'll show you what it looks like. So here's an example of what we normally see. It's something like this. It's a little dusty and dirty. It's on our demonstration board here. But anyway, like I said, it's black and it's not as tall. So even though it's different than what we normally get, the important thing is then it works. So we've got it, which means this allows us to do something additional on the project, and that is we can do our component mounting board. And if you've followed our conversions, you know how we do the VWs and the buses, where we're going to have the inverter, the throttle, the main contactor, the shunt mounted on a common component board. So now that we have this was the only piece that we were missing, well, this and the inverter, for that component board. So we can now construct that component board. So that's good to have. Let's take a quick look at the inverter here. So this is the 1238E 7622. And so we've had lots of videos on inverters. You've got your battery, your traction pack input here, and you got your 3 phases here. You got your little status lights, and you got your connection for your wiring harness. So the other thing that we can do now is we can now attach our chill plate, which we do have, to the back of this, to the base of this inverter, which will make it ready to be mounted on our component board. So all of this is good to have, helps us move forward. So in our goodie bag here, the other items you have are your wiring harness. Now if you look at the schematic from HPVS, familiarize yourself with the wiring, the color codes, so forth. There's a lot of these that we don't use, and probably no one's going to use all of them. So we go through ahead of time and lay this out and either unplug or cut the ones we're not going to use. And we'll come the same length as this plug. That way, if someone else got the vehicle someday, they could, you know, have an attachment point and add that feature. These are the 2 connectors that go to the encoder on the motor, and this plug right here is what's going to go on the back of our Curtis 840 display. So in this bag, you're going to have your 840 display, and you're going to have your KSI relay. There's the KSI relay. You get a little single pole, single throw switch. Got drawers of these things. We don't use them, at least not in this application. We have a project and we can use them, we'll use them, but we've got far more of them we've ever found use for. And then this is a momentary single pole, single throw push button switch. And this is the menu switch. And then of course the 840 display. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to install the 840 display in the dash, like I mentioned. We'll run the wire, and so this is the wire for that display right here, separately loomed here. And we'll mount this in the dash, or under the dash somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to put it at this moment. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to install the gauge and the menu switch. Those 2 work together. This is another thing that will go on that component mounting board, our KSI relay. So let's take a look at what this is going to look like installed. All right, I installed the 840 display in the dash, and I'll show you that in a moment. And the other item we were going to do is we're installing our menu switch. So you saw as it came just a couple pigtails coming out of the switch there. So we spliced on some wire and we've matched the color code to match the wiring harness. So the two wires that connect to the menu switch are the 12-volt control, which is a red with blue stripe, and then the menu button switch, which is the white with a red stripe. So we try to keep things, uniform that way. And so at a glance, under the dash, you could say, hey, that's the menu switch wiring. Now, we also, in a previous episode, showed you that we had run the wiring from the front to the rear of the car. And so that terminates at both ends at a terminal strip. And so all I have to do is, with my notes, identify which two, terminals that these wires would connect to. And of course, I'm going to drill a hole, put this in there. So we drill a hole and it will just come in from the back side of the dash, and the cap goes on, and we're done. And as soon as I do that, I'll show you. So let's take a look at what the dash looks like now. And I told you about wiring it into the terminal strip into the dash here. So there's our terminal strip. There's the original fuse block right there. And here's the two wires that we just connected right here, right next to each other, almost like up landed, huh? So now the dash, we've got poor lighting here, but anyway, you can see this is the Curtis 840 display under glass there. Boy, it gets worse if I go that way. Anyway, that's the dash. Only difference is, instead of this being a blank, it now has the 840 display, which will monitor our motor and controller. And then, as in a previous video we discussed, the owner isn't going to use the radio blank. It was open when we got the vehicle, and he said go ahead and put some instrumentation in there. So that's where we put the JLD 404, and we just added the menu button right here. So the JLD 404 is all wired up, the menu button's wired up. We've got the Curtis 840. We have to run the wiring loom for it still, but it's just a plug in the back once the wiring's run. And there's some wiring that was hanging down when we got the vehicle. Kind of look into what that is and see where we want to tuck it. But anyway, just some stuff laying around. So that's it for the instrumentation. So now it's just pretty much back to waiting for the machine shop, and then we can start to put this thing together and get her out of here.